Gamora has been around for a long time.
Right. She's been a major key within the Kree, right? Underneath the leadership of oh wow, I can't remember the name. Thanos. Thank you. Thank you. Like she is part of the family, so she has like a long backstory and very intermingled within many different people's stories within the Marvel universe.
She is related. No, so in the comics, she's not actually related to Thanos.
She's not related in the movie either. She is adopted.
Well,
she is taken away from, and she's a slave.
Yeah, but she
is what the movies are saying.
Like, she and Nebula both refer to Thanos as their father.
Right.
So they are adopted by Thanos in the movie, but in the comics they're not. Although in the comics, Nebula does claim to be his granddaughter.
Interesting.
Okay. But basically, in the comics, Nebula is just kind of a space pirate.
Gotcha.
And Gamora goes through a lot of different sort of iterations, and a lot of the time she's hanging out with Pip the Troll.
Okay.
Who is a character that I actually like. Having seen both of the Guardians movies, I was half expecting Pip the Troll to show up.
Interesting.
At some point,
right. Because of her ties to him within the comics. Yeah.
So anyway, so Gamora, Peter Quill, Rocket Raccoon, and Groot, and Drax. Mm-hmm. And Drax is a character who is also all over the place.
Yes.
He kind of was sort of a Hulk-ish sort of character for the space comics.
Yeah.
He was basically Hulk in space.
Gotcha.
For a while.
Until Hulk gets his way out there, too.
Yeah. But he was also part of the group of aliens from Saturn's moon Titan. And that's why they call Thanos the Mad Titan, because he's from Titan. But Drax was related to them somehow. But more recently in the comics, like his origin, I don't know if it was straight up retconned or if it was just revealed that he is actually he in the comics he was human at some point.
Right. Okay.
And his family was killed by Thanos.
Okay.
Or he thought that they were killed by Thanos. It turned out that his daughter went on to become the superhero known as Moondragon.
Interesting.
But
this
anyway,
is all new to me.
But
that's awesome. That's
essentially
cool.
It's a lot of these characters have really, really complex backstories in the comics, and so it's interesting to see how they were streamlined for the film. Mm-hmm. What were some of your basic, like, your first impressions when you went to see the movie? Like, what really stuck out to you?
Okay, so the biggest thing for me watching Guardians was I thought it was going to be very much action thriller because of the space theme. Like, I just really assumed, and I really probably shouldn't have, but I really thought it was going to be like down, dirty, and gritty. I was not expecting the humor.
Yeah.
Like, I knew Chris Pratt was going to be in it, but I thought this was going to be a very serious role for him to portray. But it was it was kind of the same humor from Ant-Man, which I kind of appreciated. Like, that kind
Ant-Man
of
actually
witty,
came after.
snarky. Oh, Ant-Man did?
Ant-Man came after Guardians.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See? Jeez. But, like, that kind of level of comedic value within the script, I was not expecting.
Yeah,
that
Guardians
was my big takeaway, for sure.
Guardians definitely was the most comedic Marvel film up to that point. And always the comic relief in all of these movies has always been pretty strong.
True.
But yeah, this one steered into the comedy a lot harder.
Yes. Yeah.
I
think that actually rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. However, I think because of the situation where we are in the cinematic universe with like the Avengers and everything, them getting very serious, getting very almost depressing, actually, at some points. It was very nice to see this being added to the storyline.
It was a good palate cleanser.
Right. It was good to get us back on track, but kind of take us away so we can come back and then get serious and dive in. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Specifically.
I think for me what's interesting about this movie is how it is simultaneously really really integral to the overarching story of the MCU as we build up to Infinity War.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like, completely separate.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
and
this
that's
is a movie that
amazing.
This is a movie that works like as a standalone film,
but also
a
on all
lot
the other levels.
better. A lot better than many of the other entries in the MCU, especially in Phase 2.
Right.
Because in Phase 2 you have the Dark World, you have Winter Soldier, and the Dark World especially is not a movie that works as well when you
as
take it away
right.
from the rest of the MCU.
I have to agree. I watched that in the theater, and I was actually almost a little bit disappointed with how some of the things were working out in that.
See, and
it was
again,
still a great movie. I enjoyed it, but
and Jeff and I had a long conversation about this a few episodes ago. That taken in the context of the rest of the MCU, I think the Dark World is not as weak an entry as many people seem to remember it being. And Tyler and I talked about Iron Man 3 on that same topic as well. That when you look at these stories in the wider context of the character arcs of which they're a part, then the some of the weaknesses that you want to kind of nitpick at could fall away some, unless you're talking about the villains, in which case they're not great.
Yep. Right.
And this one falls into that same pitfall as well. Ronan the Accuser is just like, he's nothing more than your stock big bad guy who's upset about something
because he's hurt. He's not. Yeah.
He's the stereotypical
whiny,
butthurt bad guy.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't even. And for some of these villains, you kind of can understand it if you really think about it. But in the case of Ronan, he just doesn't want there to be a treaty between the Kree and Xandar.
Right.
Really?
Yeah,
is all there is? And you really want to know why.
Right, but they don't. It's not given to us, and then it's done. It's destroyed. Who cares? Nobody does, I guess.
Yeah, and
so when you don't have that multiple level within a film of the villain specifically, like somebody you kind of want to root for, that's kind of nice to have. And Guardians of the Galaxy didn't really give us that with any of the villains.
Yeah,
unless you maybe count his predecessor,
Yondu.
Because I like him
tough.
as a rogue, but
Yondu's not really a straight up villain,
right? Exactly,
yeah.
which we will learn about even more later.
right. In Volume 2, you get into that more.
Right.
But
Drax as a character, but there was more that I enjoyed about him because they brought in some of the real life issues that some people have with a mental disability. I know he related to a lot of people with, I believe, autism and Asperger's, and I really appreciated that kind of, what is the word I'm looking for? Representation.
Okay, sure.
Because I know a lot of kids have trouble wanting to be like heroes, like certain things about their aspects, like
okay. So
being
the way that he was taking things super literally and
right.
kind of not having that sense of humor sort of gets into a little bit of what people with Asperger's kind of struggle with sometimes.
And I had read so many stories right after the movie came out about these younger kids with these issues that were like, wow, that's just like me. Like and that means a lot to those people and to those families.
What do you mean those people then?
You know what I'm
kidding.
saying? Yeah, I know. But for people to understand the importance of something like that, to make it more adaptable, to make it more
relatable.
Yeah. To the viewer is just I thought that was very neat as well.
Yeah. And on the topic of Drax, I mean, obviously he was one of the standout roles in the movie, and the fact that Dave Bautista, the guy who plays him, is not an actor,
right?
You know, that was he gave a really impressive performance, and a lot of
it was solid.
Some of my favorite things about Guardians too is the stuff with Drax, because they turn up all of his quirkiness to 11.
Yeah, and it's good. It's not
great.
even bad.
Yeah.
It's not even bad. It's great.
Yeah. So there were a couple of things that I thought were interesting as I was watching the movie, and one of them came really early. So when he's looking for the orb on the planet Morag,
Yes.
and he's using this like device to
see the past and
the past,
right?
Like that's weird.
It was.
It's
weird.
like a really
and I did
cool
not
piece of
understand
technology.
it.
Like I understood what was going on when I watched it.
Okay.
But when I watched it again, it stood out to me more because I know now that they didn't use that device again.
Yeah.
It seems like a sort of a weirdly overpowered technology.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
For that to be showcased so prominently at the beginning of the film
and then never used again I find that odd.
It's kind of like an unused Chekhov's gun a little bit.
Right.
Like
yes.
you would expect for that to play a pivotal role later on.
Right. And it even shows him putting it away. Like he definitely has access to it later on. So what I didn't understand about that technology specifically was it showing like an archived like pre-downloaded like this is how it was kind of thing. Like that's what I didn't understand.
Right, and I don't know. I don't know where that sort of archival footage would have come from.
Exactly.
So it seems like what it is doing is actually showing him like the past.
Yeah, right. Like as a geological, like, hey, here's the people that lived here. This is them. This amount of years ago.
Yeah,
and like for us to not get any more of that, I was a little disappointed with it. But who knows? Maybe they'll add it in there again somewhere. Who knows?
Yeah, it's hard to say.
It'd be cool if it would, but
yeah, I think that's probably one of the things that's just going to end up going by the wayside. And but
it's a shame. It is.
Yeah, one of the things, again, also from the very beginning of that film, that's sort of a fun Easter egg that you wouldn't necessarily twig to if you didn't know what you were looking at, is as he's entering into those ruins and you see that big sort of ceramic or the tile scene that's on the floor.
Oh, the mosaic on the floor.
Yeah, the mosaic on the floor, and like it shows all the different like great entities of the universe of like eternity and entropy and all of these things,
which I actually have not taken a closer look at either. So
it also portrays the Infinity Stones.
See, I did notice that, but I did not know who the entities were. I didn't understand. I didn't understand the depictions, but I saw the stones, which I was trying to figure out who kind of belonged to what, and I didn't.
Yeah,
understand
there's not
that.
a correlation between the entities and the stones.
There is
necessarily.
Not. Okay, see, that's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, but what we do find out is that what he's looking for, the orb, it does contain the power stone.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, it is the power stone. And what I think, I am glad that they were at least smart enough in writing this that once Ronan realized what he had, that he was like, well, I don't need Thanos to destroy Xandar now.
Right. No, because he literally does not.
I can take care of that all by myself.
Yep.
So that was cool. I guess there's one good thing about at least not making the villain stupid,
right?
As well as
making him at least self-aware enough to take things into his own hands, I guess.
The depiction of the Nova Corps was interesting because that's another
I thought that was cool.
strong element from Marvel, or at least not strong, but a significant thing in Marvel Comics. The Nova's been around for a long time, since I want to say the mid 70s was the first time you see Nova. Like Richard Rider was the name of the first Nova.
Nova Supreme?
No, he becomes Nova Prime later. Okay, much later. After Annihilation.
Gotcha. All right.
Because in the Annihilation event, they actually do destroy Xandar. It looks like it's taken out the Nova Corps, but then he comes back.
Pops up. Okay, gotcha.
And the Nova Corps is essentially the Green Lantern Corps for Marvel.
Yeah, I did not even think about that. Yeah, because they have all these different races. They have... That's interesting. Yeah, I had never even thought about it that way.
The Nova Corps are Marvel's space cops.
Yeah.
Just like the Green Lantern Corps are DC's space cops.
Yep. That's cool.
So the way that they were portrayed, though, is really interesting. They seemed to just be sort of just like cops.